Welcome to the home studio. Here's where I do all my recordings in this little 10 by 10 room with the old wood paneling on it. It's the only room in my house that still has wood paneling. No, that's not true. There's one more. But all the rest was renovated over the last 15 years that I've owned the home. And funny enough, wood paneling is actually kind of good acoustically. It absorbs some sound and even gives you a little bit of a slapback effect that is better and more acoustically friendly than, say, drywall. Like a room with drywall is very reverberant. And sometimes I'll record in the other room too with the painted walls and use the acoustics of the room to try to capture some of that natural reverb. But this is a little more controlled in here, and it's generally better. But that's not today's topic at all, so I'll, I'll drop that right now. Today's topic is pets and animals. Oh, got a plane overhead. I'm not that far from the airport, about a 20-minute drive. Um, yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. Um, where do I start? Well, for me, like the connection to nature and to animals, I've always really enjoyed nature, but like in the past several years of sort of connectivity and my own evolving sense of everything being connected, um, the, the, the feeling that I have for animals and nature is just like richer, it's deeper. And it probably runs parallel with my mom as well, because for many years at her home they have a a lake that they installed into the backyard, and so she gets all kinds of critters all the time, and including deer because she's in the suburbs of the Buffalo area. And back at the pond, she's got a bunch of feeders too, so she's been feeding birds for years and years, and in the last couple of years now she's got me doing it. And as some of you know, I've had cardinals that visit me regularly, and what's kind of neat is it was just a cardinal couple last year, but now this year they brought a baby, and then more recently there were four of them. So um, that's the first time I've ever seen four cardinals at my feeder, which is pretty neat. We don't get a ton of them in the city. We occasionally get a blue jay. My mom gets orioles, which I saw this summer there, and those are really beautiful. I also get some crows um, and things like that. But anyway, excuse me. What where I wanted to start, and I don't want this to be too long, but where I wanted to start was really with my own pets. I have had two cats in the last 15 years, and their names are Gene and Gabe, and you can read more about them in my first book about how I acquired them. They were both essentially rescues, and neither cat was particularly friendly at first, but as time went on and as our relationship grew, then I really began to feel like that there was more of a connection. And so we really get attached to our pets, and for good reason. I do believe what Sterling has said before, that pets, animals, are kind of directly from the angelic realm. And Eckhart Tolle said something interesting, that animals aren't as complicated as humans because they don't have a relationship with themselves. Like each of us as humans, we have a relationship with ourselves, whereas an animal does not ponder itself, as far as we know. Um, it just is. So that's a different kind of beautiful simplicity. But with Gene and with Gabe, the interesting thing for being into psychics and spirituality is that I have felt psychic connections with both of my cats, as has my neighbor Rose, who you may have heard me talk about before with her own cats, and she's one of our neighborhood cat rescuers too. And and just I just really love Rose. So yeah, with Gene, since he was the first one I got, and I had him just on his own for like 3 or 4 years before I got Gabe. Gene was just a black domestic house cat. And he was deaf, which always made him a bit skittish because you could scare him by accident. Though he would usually feel your vibrations, from your feet on the floor, but occasionally he would get startled, and then he would then he would be loud. Um, and he didn't know how loud he was since he was deaf. But what became a cool thing for us over the years was at bedtime, he eventually started to, more in the later years of his life, he started to sleep next to my head. And it was pretty awesome because he would be right here. I would slide my pillow over so that he could basically curl right here, and I would reach back over my shoulder and pet him, like basically like rub the nape of his neck, and I knew where the spot was. Right at the base of his skull there was like a spot, and it was amazing. Like if I just kind of relaxed and just sort of like gently massage that area, I would start to feel um, connectivity in my third eye, and it would kind of run down my body like a warmth. And I realized that, well, I believe that he experienced this too, or in a similar way, because what would happen inevitably is I would just do this until we both like it like decompressed us, and then like all the stress and all of the mind stuff would just fall on my, like, just flow out of my body, and basically I would fall asleep every time, and so would he. And a lot of times I would fall asleep while I was doing this. It was like hypnotic almost. I would do this, and then feel the connection in the third eye, and this warmth, and then like my whole face, and like down through my body, and then just until then out. And he wouldn't usually stay there all night. Occasionally he would. He'd usually sleep there for a couple hours and then maybe move down to my feet. But I would just be like basically begging for him to for him to come to the bed, because I was like, yeah, like I knew it was a perfect way of getting to sleep, and that the connectivity was something that he really enjoyed too. And then in the last year of his life, well, even before that, but especially in the last year, he started to let me even roll over in bed and rest my head on his back if he was curled up. And those vibrations, I would feel those vibrations similarly, like kind of resonant in my face and in my head. And if I was not sleepy yet, that would almost always do it too. Or if I needed to get back to sleep, like just like the gentle purring would just put me right out. And then I came across some online information within the last couple years that noted that cat vibrations have been linked to healing effects, because cat vibrations are resonant in the same frequency range that they use for, like, I think electromagnetic healing, or like resonant healing, when they put like a machine on an injured body part and they use vibrations to stimulate healing. So thinking about that, okay, we already know that everything is vibrations. All matter in the universe is vibrational. The atoms in your body, you don't perceive them as vibrating, but everything is vibrating at all times. And so, again, I think it's no accident when we talk about good vibrations that it literally means vibrations. Like, it's not just a metaphor, it's a reality. And same with interactions with other people. Like when you meet someone that you really feel connected to in a really quick way, especially people who are open and honest and like calm. They impart their energy is felt, their vibration is felt, and that too can be calming and reassuring. And I experience the same thing with music. So a lot of times at bedtime, I run very relaxing music that sort of cuts into my mind narrative. It interrupts it, and the vibrational quality of the music becomes the means of relaxation. So with Gene, that was just an awesome thing that within the last couple years of his life, he let me, you know, kind of connect more with him that way. And like, and then we really understood each other. And I have said before, and I think I wrote about it in the first book, that the more we interact with our pets, the more awareness they develop. Like I can actually, when I see other people's pets or animals, I can actually tell how much they engage with their pets based on the look in their eyes, the awareness of the pet in their eyes. And so when I talk to the pet in a specific way, I look at the eyes and I watch how they might change in 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 this communication, this sort of nonverbal. I mean, it can be verbal, but it's not. Obviously, we're not speaking the same language, but the tone of voice that you use with an animal can absolutely affect the animal and create trust. And I remember a couple years ago, I was at my friend Lisa's house, and I didn't get to her place often, but when I went one time, actually first time I met her two dogs, the dogs are really reacting to me in a nice way, and I think I don't know how it popped up, but I think I ended up saying to like, oh, do they, you know, is it time for them to go out, or do they need to go out? And she's like, yeah, probably. So I looked at the one dog and I was like, do you want to go outside? Do you want to go out? And we both swear to God that he said, yeah. Like, yeah. Like, I was like, did you hear that? Did he just say yeah? Like, not yip or whatever other sound the dog would normally make, but like, yeah. And she's like, yeah. And he's never done that before. I was like, heh, you know, animal whisperer. So that was just one of a lot of little things like that that I've noticed. So, and I wasn't trying to be Mr. Spiritual Know-It-All, but I said you should talk to them more. You should just talk to them like you would talk to a person, because that's what I do with my cats. I talk to them like they're intelligent animals, because they are, and they understand intent, if not the literal words. So hopefully she took my advice on that. But let me transition now to my second cat, Gabe, because Gabe, like Gene, was initially less friendly. And now that he's 15 and a half, he is so verbal. It makes everybody laugh, and my mom too, because she'll come over, and when he hears her come in, he'll get up from wherever he is and come to the kitchen to meet her. Now, of course, also she will give him treats almost every time she walks in the door, and he knows this. But now he comes out, and he will come out to greet almost everyone who comes over. He wants to check it out. And so, like, this is not how he was when I got him. And I've been working on him, like, because it's fun and because you get the joy back from the interactions. And so now what I'm finding is that as he's getting older too, well, Gene died in the summer of 2018, so it was a little more than 3 years ago. And then my mom even said, you know, we agreed it was Gene's time to go, and we also agreed that it was Gabe's time to be the number one cat. And so I think Gene allowed him that. I think that that was the plan. That Gabe was the younger brother for so long and deferred to Gene as the first cat. So Gene always got pole position here next to my head. But then once Gene had died, Gabe got to be in the prime position, and so we developed our own nighttime routine where he comes up, and he usually comes up on my left side, and he's standing and I'm petting him, and then he turns around and I have to bring my left leg, I have to bend my left leg at the knee and put my foot against my right leg so that it's like a little, like a little angled shape, and then he flops over my leg and puts his leg in the air so I can rub his stomach because that's his favorite thing in the world. And now that we've been doing that for a good while, when I rub his belly and I move up into his chest, now it's the same thing as with Gene. I can feel his energy, and I feel it in my third eye and in my face and my body. And it's the same thing. It's connectivity, and and like the circles that I do are very small and slow. And there's a point at which I'm aware that I'm not really thinking of how I'm doing it at all. Like it's very automatic, or I would even say maybe intuitive. Like it's hard to explain properly, but it's instead of consciously like, oh, I'm gonna scratch you here, it's like more like feeling how he wants me to massage him. Do you know what I'm trying to say by that? So that like I feel like I'm intuiting the way that he wants to be pet, and that then and I'll feel it. I'll feel his body like go from, we all hold ourselves with a certain amount of energy. We hold our presence, but when you're lying down and you're really relaxed, you let all of it go, and like your body kind of like, melts a little, and I'll feel the whatever tightness is in his body just ease and dissipate. And same with Gene, and same with me. So it's pretty awesome. And this is a funny example in a way of how the energy that you put out comes back to you, especially good energy. So like you could say on the one hand, I'm giving him, I'm giving him love, and then he's returning that love. And so the giving, the altruism of it brings you back the reward of the same thing. Like what you put out comes back to you, and so that's very satisfying thing, and it's something that I try to do just daily in life as much as I can. I don't always succeed. I have days where I'm impatient with people. I try not to show that as much as possible, or I try not to, display it in any obvious way. But we all have our days. But mostly, I'm trying to establish a kind of baseline vibe wherever I am, because if I'm calm and in that space, then hopefully that sort of imparts that feeling to other people as well, and then we can maybe have a more sincere connection and a more pleasant connection in whatever way that we connect, whether even that's just hanging out in the same room with people you're not even talking to. Your presence is felt in the room in a positive way. So I absolutely believe that we can connect spiritually with animals and pets in general. I mean, if you've been watching my channel a while, you know that Ellie the squirrel is the neighborhood star, because ever since COVID began, really it was right about when COVID began, is when she started to appear in the neighborhood. And her nature is so unusual because she is friendly with everyone here. She has climbed the legs of nearly everyone on the block looking for peanuts, and everybody cares because they they might not acknowledge it or verbalize it the way I would, but her uniqueness is is a kind of gift. And in some of the darker days of 2020, between COVID and the politics and general unrest, I mean, to see her come on up my tree and, you know, take peanuts from my hand, the feeling of connectivity to the mysterious and greater magical world around us would be really strong and calming, reassuring. And I think that most people, whether again they can articulate that or not, they're craving a feeling of connectivity, because it just makes us feel more alive, and it feels like the way things should be. So I think that probably, I really believe that the other side, heaven, is probably like that feeling all the time of sort of endless, infinite connectivity and belonging and loving. And nature is an awesome expression of that feeling that probably comes right from the Creator. Well, definitely comes right from the Creator, and so we're meant to connect with it deeper if we want to. So there you have it. Cat vibrations, pet vibrations, animal vibrations. It's all good. Sparrows are out up the feeder. Oops, I just scared them. They'll be back. Okay, be well. Talk to you again soon, I hope. Take care.